when you're in your 20s and even in your 30s and 40s, you kind of think whatever you're in is going to be what you're in for forever, and it's not.
A female chief business officer in the spirits industry.
And that foundation has sent more than 13 people and still sending people through either four-year university, their master's, or up to their PhD.
Hi, I'm Jim Fielding. Welcome to Ask for an Answer. Hello, kind and beautiful human beings. Welcome to another episode of Ask for an Answer with Jim Fielding. This is a really special one, and I want to thank my guest because she's been amazing about scheduling. We've had to move this a couple times, but this one, I was thinking about this episode last night and this morning as I was getting ready, and it's literally been almost 6 years in the making. I had to go back and look at when I met this guest. I'm so excited to have Kate Jerkens here. I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Okay, will do. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Kate Jerkens. So excited to be here. I'm the Chief Business Officer for Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey. And I've been with Uncle Nearest since before we had a label, a bottle, so just over 9 years. And prior to that, I was in hospitality for just over 20 years. So always on the hospitality side, and loved the experience in the last 9 years to help build this amazing brand and to tell this amazing story.
Unbelievable. Okay, so I got the pleasure of meeting Kate in 2020. I had to go back and look it up. By the way, COVID, people, we literally met right at the start of COVID.
Yeah, were we masky and everything?
Yes. And I was introduced to Fawn Weaver, who is the founder of Uncle Nearest, with her husband, who Kate works with, through her sister, Lonnie. And they were getting ready to open up their visitor center in Shelbyville, Tennessee, where the whiskey is made. I mean, and there's the tour and this gorgeous Tennessee walking horse farm, which was like this overwhelming experience. And they wanted help designing really, and merchandising their the Welcome Center store, where you can buy whiskey and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. And so we worked on the product. I got to put a little team together, and we worked on the product, and we worked on the store design and the fixture design. And we actually helped them hire their first, director of mercingizing, right? Was she the director?
She's still there. Yeah.
She's still there. I know Susan is still there.
Well
done. and I remember we masked and gloved up and went to Shelbyville, Tennessee to merchandise the store
to each other.
Yes. We had to submit tests, and it was so hot and humid. You remember that opening?
Oh my God.
Time. And there was no air conditioning on.
Nope.
And it was one of the most thrilling experiences of my life. I mean, we had so much fun merchandising that store. And I was telling Kate before we started, it's one of my favorite projects to work on because of the authentic story of Uncle Nearest, the authentic story of Nearest Green Distillery. And I couldn't believe when you said 9 years. I was going to ask you. I was like, 9 years. So how did you meet? Like, how did you get attached first to this?
Good question. So this July will be 9 years. So I attached the project about 7 or 8 months before. I happen to have known Fawn since we were in our 20s. We worked at the Viceroy Hotel in Santa Monica together in our 20s when it had just opened, and it was like coolest of cool.
I was going to say the place.
It was the place. She was like an events person. I was on the corporate hotel side, and so we've known each other for that long. And she came to me years and years and years later, 2015. For another project she was working on. And at the time I was the director of sales and marketing for the SLS Hotel in Beverly Hills.
Oh my gosh.
And she's like, do you want to work from home and like wear your yoga pants all day? I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a dream. And so I started working with her on that project in 2015. And about a year and a half in, she and Keith reached out to me, and she had discovered the story of Nearest about 6 months prior and was ready to sort of share with me what her plans were. And I started sort of shifting over the next 6 months to this project. And I didn't get it. Like, you know what I mean? You get it, but you didn't get it. Okay, whiskey, I do nothing. And so I spent a ton of time learning about whiskey and figuring out this industry, which is like a really wild industry, quite frankly, and
Yeah.
continues to be. But yeah, I tell my kids all the time, no matter who you work with or who you meet, you never know where you might see them again. And so luckily I wasn't a big jerk in my 20s and I worked really hard and she recognized that. So she called me up for this.
That's a leadership lesson for all of our viewers
For
and
sure.
listeners and I think that's why you and I bonded, because I'm the same way. I'm like, and I'll be even more blunt. I'm like, don't piss anybody off. Like and I was able to have a successful career in Hollywood for over 20 years
Amazing.
because I never stabbed anybody in the back. I never crawled over anybody to get to where, I wanted to go. And that was so important to me. And you're the same way. And I think it makes so much sense that you and Fawn connected like that.
And
Tell
by the way, I have to tell you, so that
Yeah.
you were so highly recommended. And honestly, like maybe not the most obvious choice for a whiskey distillery, right?
Yeah.
But it was like, the vision and the press had already dubbed us, or they were getting to a place, maybe it was after
Yes.
we've now been dubbed Malt Disney World. So if you think about your
Yes.
background and everything you've done, it's like, it was perfection. And we had this huge space and
Yeah.
it needed to feel full. And I mean, it's a big space. If
And
anyone,
it's
it's a
what,
big,
30-foot ceiling? I
yeah.
mean,
I mean,
it's
it's
like
just ginormous.
it's an aircraft hangar,
And you
basically.
made it feel like a home, and that's not easy to do. And it was cool. I
Mm.
mean, not to mention this giant truck that's in the middle. I mean, there's
Okay,
so
but
many
let's
cool
talk about the
features.
giant truck story, because it only worked because you and Keith and Fawn. I mean,
You
it
had the
it
idea, and everyone had to just say yes or no. And it
it
was like,
was so
why not?
funny, but we definitely, somebody in the press before we even worked for had been talked about like the Walt Disney of whiskey and
Yeah.
stuff. Like it definitely,
Yeah.
because,
And it
but the
helps.
reason is, and we probably should step back because not everybody knows the story. Okay.
Sure.
You quickly tell the story of Nearest Green Distillery, Uncle Nearest, the
Yeah.
whiskey brand, because then I'll explain the Disney tie-in, or
Perfect.
the Disney synergies, as we would say. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so the elevator speech, like if I had
Yes.
2 seconds, is Nearest is the first known African American master distiller. And a little bit longer version is in 2016, the New York Times published an article claiming that a slave may have been the hidden ingredient behind Jack Daniels. And that intrigued Fawn to know, like, she was on a trip with her husband, read this in the New York Times, and immediately went to research. And within months was in Lynchburg, Tennessee, researching even more. And within a couple months after that, had gathered Nearest Green's descendants together. Like, do you know who he is? Do you know what he did? And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And then she said, like, what else should we do? And someone's like, how about putting his name on a bottle? And she did. And so that's how we ended up here. And our goal has always been to make sure that people understand who Nearest was, who he was, an enslaved man in the 1800s who was making whiskey for a preacher and taught a young Jack Daniel, who that later came to that farm, how to make whiskey. And then post Civil War, Jack took over that still on that farm and hired Nearest to be his first master distiller. And beyond that, hired Nearest's sons. And when Nearest retired, Jack brought his sons in. And to this day, there's still Green family members that work at the Jack Daniels distillery. No one knew that story of Nearest. It got lost in time. And you can talk about a million reasons why, but it also, the ownership of that distillery had changed, all of that kind of stuff. People in Lynchburg knew, nobody outside of Lynchburg knew. And Fawn made it her mission to ensure that everybody knew that Nearest is truly the legacy of Tennessee whiskey. He taught Jack Daniels the method of making what's now, formally recognized as Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah. And I think what's fascinating about it is, when we were doing the research for your visitor center, we went and visited the other visitor centers in Tennessee. And now in Jack Daniels, there's an Uncle Nearest, there's a Nearest Green story section, which I know did not exist before you guys started doing this work. And the fact also, and I think she still is, the last I knew, she's the great granddaughter? Wait, what's your master distiller?
Yeah. So So Victoria is
Yes.
our master blender. She's the
Blender, yeah.
she's the great great granddaughter of Nearest Green, and had a full career of 31 years in law enforcement, and started working for us in 2019, and quickly was elevated to master. Didn't even come on to do the whiskey. She came on to help us on the admin side, to help us with the foundation. Fawn had an idea for a small batch, which is
Yeah.
this was the original small batch that
Oh
she
my
did.
gosh.
And she was critically acclaimed. And so all of a sudden, by the end of that year, she was our master blender. And now she's been 4-time master blender of the year. Not to mention, she's just like one of the best human beings on the planet.
I was going to say kind and loving and smart and funny.
Yeah, all of it.
All of it. Okay, and so I'm going to put a plug in now, because if you want to read the whole story, Fawn wrote the book, Love and Whiskey, Fawn Weaver, get it. Listen to it, buy it. It's so good, because we don't have time. It would take the whole podcast to tell the story.
Oh, yeah.
So I get this call from Lonnie King, who I had worked with at Fox and Disney, who happens to be Fawn Weaver's sister. Again, another story like you told your kids. Be careful who you make friends with or don't make friends with.
Exactly.
And I think I love that you said that, Kate, we weren't the obvious choice. And I basically built a bespoke team for you guys. You know
did.
that. Like, I went out and hired people to work with me, all who were former Disney, because it did feel like Disney. And why, for our listeners and viewers, did it feel like Disney? It was an authentic story. Like, anyone who knows the story of Walt Disney and growing up in Missouri and the trials and tribulations that he went through, nothing like what Nearest Green went through. But if you're a consultant or an advisor or a trusted partner or whatever you want to call us, and you get to work with passionate, driven, talented people on authentic story. Like, we weren't making anything up. Like, we literally were like, okay, wait a minute. We have to, the whiskey, and by the way, the whiskey was starting to win awards already when we got involved. And so
that was a whole nother piece to design.
Yeah, no, like all of a sudden, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. They're already winning awards. And remember, in the design, they were like, we have to display awards. And I'm like, how many awards did you win already? And it was like 20 weird. Yeah. I mean, we had to display all those plaques. And the thing that's interesting is I kept saying to my team, we have to create an environment that lives up to the quality of the space and the quality of the product that we're celebrating, which is whiskey. But yeah, when you first walked into the space, and we kind of walked into it virtually first, but I was like, holy crap, those ceilings are high, right? And but again, so I'm going to go to the truck, which is in the center. One of the things from Walt, and I know because Fawn talks about it, was so funny. I went and saw Fawn on tour, and she talked about this. One of the things, anybody that's worked at Disney, is when Walt was designing Disney World, he always, and it's a bad word, I'm just going to say it up front. It's not a bad word. It's a funny word, but he would talk about weenies. Weenies. He would talk about weenies. And a Walt Disney weenie, for anybody that didn't work there, he was very conscious when he was laying out Disneyland in California to break the vertical plane, right? Like there had to be moments in each land that broke the vertical plane, that helped people navigate through Disneyland. Cinderella's Castle is an example of a weenie. And I said to our team,
where does that word come from, though?
I don't know. I think he said it. I don't honestly know.
So funny. I've sort of been curious about that piece.
I know, but it's like, I know, but if you think about the I know, I don't want to ask.
Mad about it.
I'm afraid to ask. But if you think about the 5 lands, there's more lands now, but the original 5 lands at Disneyland, they each have like a weenie in the middle of them. Yeah. And we racked our brains, because I'm like, do we make like a supersized whiskey bottle? Like, we got to do something to break up the space. And one of our brainstorming sessions, I was like, it would be really cool, honestly, an homage. I said, does anybody remember the old Banana Republic stores with the Jeep in the middle, right? Like, I said, it'd be really cool to get an old truck and put it in the middle, but a truck that literally would have been driven, not necessarily by Nearest Green, but would have been used in the whiskey industry in Tennessee. And then it turns out that Fawn's husband, Keith, one of the other founders of the business, is like a nut about old cars, and loves. And all of a sudden, they jumped on it. And this is what I love about you guys. You're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And he's like going to auctions and like doing all this research and sending us pictures of these amazing old trucks. And we literally found one that was already painted green. It was so crazy how it all worked. And and then I was like, oh my gosh, we got to figure out how to get it into the space and what to put it on, right? Like that was a whole different engineering thing, but that's your guys' little weenie. That's your little Disney weenie in the middle. But it's your big, beautiful truck. And then of course the whiskey walls behind it. It was just an amazing project to work on. It truly was.
It's so beautiful. Still to this day, people walk in.
It's held up. It's held up. And so many people go there. I've sent so many people there and they're like, it's so beautiful. And but we again
unique in this space too. It's not like anything I've ever seen. So
no, I mean, who else makes shelves out of whiskey barrels cut in half? Like, you know, I mean, we literally kept pushing ourselves, and the team that I worked with, and full credit to Sharon and Scott and Elizabeth, and Susan, when Susan came on board, where we were like, we just kept pushing ourselves to say, we have to live up to this story. We have to live up to the ancestor portraits that were going to be in the entrance, you know. We have to live up to the quality of the whiskey. And that's a great challenge, as, you know, whether you work there as a full-timer or a contractor or a partner, like it, to try to live up, to make yourself better and live up to it. It was amazing. It was amazing. So thank you, by the way. Thanked you. I've thanked you so many times, but I thank you. I mean, it's such an amazing project.
Thank you for everything.
I'm proud of it.
We love it.
And we love the whiskey. And you know,
I'm not too bad either.
I'm not a brown liquor boy, but I became a brown liquor boy. Either. I know. I'm married now to a brown liquor boy who loves it and is so happy that I have this relationship. But I
love that.
I learned how to be a brown liquor boy because I was like, I got to understand it. And the other thing I love about it, and then we're going to move on to other things, I promise. But the other thing I love about it is bartenders love your brand, and bartenders love to mix and create cocktails with your brand, but they also love to serve it neat and, you know, on the rocks and stuff. And that's huge.
They like to share the story, you know.
They do.
It's so fun when you can actually pour something and tell a story.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. So now I'm going to ask a little bit about the industry. You can go wherever you want to go with this.
Okay.
But talk to me about being a female chief business officer in the spirits industry.
Yeah, I mean,
because you're rare. You're a rare bird.
You're rare. I mean, I'm rare indeed. You know, it's not as rare today. So sitting here 9 years later, I see a lot more incredible female leadership, more diverse female leadership than I've ever seen in the last, 8 or 9 years. I came from the hospitality industry, and the last sort of like thing I was doing when I was at the SLS, when it was owned by Starwood, is I was part of their executive. It was like basically a training program to get more women to be leaders of hotels, because it's the same thing in hospitality. It's a lot of male leadership, a lot of women in marketing, and a lot of women in human resources. It's sort of like the tale of, it's like the norm. And so I wasn't that shocked by it when I started here, but it was tough. This industry in particular is very white male dominated, and it's very generational as well. Like when you look at some of the distributors, like these were built by families that years, over generations have handed these down. Same with a lot of, there's a lot of like legacy suppliers as well that are the same way. So when we came on, it was like, oh, you're that cute. Okay.
Sweet.
Yeah, good luck. Have you ever done this before? Okay, cute. And where they're Fawn will tell the story too. There were times where like we had to have like Keith call someone, and then they'd be like, oh, hey man, like they would never answer the phone for us or the email. And then he'd be like, okay, cool. Well, you're going to talk to Kate and Fawn. And they'd be like, what? How did this happen? Really funny. So I remember the first time I was responsible for building our distributor network, and Fawn tasked me with figuring out distribution for all 50 states in under 2 years. And remember, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So there's that. But, and I was always talking to bros and always. And I remember once I got an email from a Stacy and a Simone. So, and Simone was Simone. And if they ever hear this, like, I hope you guys can all laugh about this. So I was like, oh my gosh, I sent it to Fawn. I'm like, ladies, right? We got this. And I get on a conference call with them, and they're both men just that had those names. And I was like,
was Simone French? She was French.
Simone, yeah.
Oh, Simone. Okay,
like,
yeah.
Dang it! Like I thought I'd found one. Found some, but over time, I would say in the last 9 years, there's been a lot of powerful female leaders. We built, I think, one of the most diverse teams in the industry, and a lot of incredible women have work with us and have worked with us, and now are on to other bigger and greater roles for themselves too. So I would say the industry is definitely moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, the industry is not having its best moment right now. So
right.
the focus on that is not high. I don't think anyone's if I'm being blunt, like no one's really paying attention to DEI right now. They're really paying attention to like, how do we combat this generation that's coming up that doesn't drink as much? Or how do we combat, semaglutide? Because that's the big story, right? And semaglutide, that I've never felt like I don't need to drink. So I don't know if I totally but there's so much else in the industry. So there's not as much focus on diversity.
You're up against some big consumer trends, to your point. I mean,
for sure.
People drinking less overall, dry January, but particularly the younger generation.
They just don't drink as much. And like, I shouldn't say, I have a teenager, and even like watching the trends of like, I know what I was doing as a teenager, and like, I know, like, everyone's like, oh, they're doing this and that. I'm like, no. I'm like very in tune. Like, I believe me, like you can, and like, it's not the same. It's just, it's there, but it's just not the same. I do think though, and we've talked about this a lot, we all drank way too much during COVID, like an obscene amount. Like we were drinking during the day, and we were, for me, every single night we would like shut down the house at like 4:30. We would get on bikes. We'd go to a friend's alleyway, like, cause we're in LA and the big alleys. And so we felt like we could all like, and the kids would ride bikes up and down the alley, and we would all chug wine. And like, that's like what we did. And so there's a bit of a reset once we all had to sort of like get back on into our cars and drive places. And, like my husband, his company went from like, you guys need to come back to work like 1 day a week to 2. And now they expect him in the office 5 days a week. So that stuff just changes drinking patterns. And so I think we're still in a reset. And I think we all loved it. If you're in the spirits industry during that time, it was real cool. You were like, hell yeah, everyone's drinking.
No, and I mean, I think that's one of the things I've always loved about working with you is you're such the perfect balance as a business officer, as a marketer, as a brand person of gut and data, right? Yeah. And you have an incredible gut, you have incredible taste and instinct, but you also, I mean, that's the facts. I mean, we were consuming more. There's so many things like the bubble of COVID that I think all industries are still figuring out, right? And I think there was a lot of false positives, I guess is probably the best way to say it.
I agree. And we had to find them at that time. Cause if imagine, Jim, I had a call, we live in LA. So after the fires last year, there was a lot of conversation about all this trauma kids in Los Angeles have gone through in the last 5 or 6 years. But you think about it, we've never really like dove into like, we had a pandemic. Like we were told we couldn't leave our houses. We were told we had to wear masks when we were in public. We were told our children had to social distance. Like I coached a soccer team where the kids couldn't be within 6 feet of each other, during practice. And like, you wonder, like, we haven't all like processed any of this stuff. Right. And so we took the positives where we could take them because it was such a weird time.
It was. And I think it's really interesting because Kate mentioned she's based in Los Angeles. I live in Atlanta now, but I have to tell people all the time because I was in California for a lot of the pandemic. And I'm like, we did the pandemic. Like California.
It was an actual pandemic.
It was an actual pandemic. And we were masked and gloved. And I was living between LA and Laguna Beach. And you remember this, Kate, like calling your neighbor to say, what time are you walking your dogs? Right. Yeah. Because we could never be on the same side of the street.
Yeah.
And And
People were uncomfortable. I was on a corner once with friends talking, and the people of the house that where I was on the corner came out and said, "You guys are making us uncomfortable. Can you guys
because
please
you're too
take them?"
close. Exactly. And
Like, oh my
and
God, where
and
are we
and
now?
and the fights in Target over paper towel
Yeah.
and toilet paper. Like I saw it, right? And
But
by the way,
going to Target was so much fun. It was like
the
in my house, it was like, which
oh
of the three kids got to go with mom to Target and stand in line for an hour, and just like the ability to just roam around was like the biggest treat in
no,
the
no, no.
entire
And actually kind of smile and wave at people through your
Yeah.
mask,
You're
right?
like,
Like
I
I would
love
always
this.
be smiling. Like, no, because yeah, and I think we're gonna be studying for years the
Sure.
ramifications and
Agreed.
the mental health impact. I mean, kids that were doing the distance learning,
Yeah.
in high school, in middle school, and college even. And
Yeah.
and I
And
think,
they missed out on like, there's kids that missed proms. There's kids that missed real
oh my
graduations.
God,
There's kids, those are like
senior
things that,
class trips,
yeah,
overseas
all that.
studies. I have my older niece didn't get to do an overseas study because she was in that year, she was supposed to go to Lisbon and was doing great at the University of Arizona, and all overseas studies were canceled, right? And so, yeah, I think yeah, as branding and marketing and business people, like you're right, we're still, and by the way, COVID still exists. It's just not the pandemic level that we were dealing with. But
It's just the nuisance that shows up. And right now people are talking more about the flu than anything. I feel like everyone I know is,
yeah,
but it
I mean,
was a crazy time, and what we were being, it was, I believe it, like all happened, like what we were seeing that's happening in big cities like New York, like, I mean, it was also scary
it
as
was
all get out. Like,
scary. It was
yeah,
scary, the unknown. I mean, we were, it's so funny because living in LA, like, all those kind of doomsday movies. I never really was a
yeah,
doomsday movie kind of person, but then I'm like,
me
oh my God,
neither.
we're living a doomsday movie. Like
Right.
and just the fear of the unknown and all that kind of stuff. It was a
And
crazy
there was a
time.
lot of,
But
at the beginning, they kept saying like, the National Guard are going to come to LA
yeah,
and make sure you don't leave your house. And like, people like, we're all buying guns and like, shit, hide your money under and it was like, wait, I don't get it. Like, so people are getting sick, but it's now the National Guard are, like, it was just
I
such a
know.
confusing
No, it's so funny because
time.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I have to tell people that story all the time. I'm like, and I know like New York City did it and Chicago did it, but I'm like, California did the pandemic. Like
Yeah.
if you go back and look, we did it, and we
Yeah.
somehow learned how to work remotely and go to school remotely and everything else. But to your point, I don't know if we fully absorbed the
No. I mean,
ramifications.
my children, that were in elementary school, I had a preschooler at the time, but my two kids in elementary school, they missed a full year of school. They they left school on like March 13th, and I think they went back to school on March 8th the following year. That's a long time.
That was hard time as parents, because also, by the way, you become educators. Parents became educators because you had to be monitoring
Yeah.
their study time and all that kind of
We kind of
stuff.
threw them to the wolves because my husband and I were also just working our butts off, and everyone was also
Yeah.
trying to make sure everyone had a job. So like, honestly, we're like, just don't flunk out, guys. You got this, and we'll go see your friends and ride bikes this afternoon.
All
So
right. I love that. Okay, so we are recording this. This will probably come out. If you're listening to this, you're probably going to be listening to this in the middle of February 2026, I'm guessing. But we're recording it at the end of January. I'm in my Indiana wear because it's
the best.
Indiana University. It was college football week. I just got back from Miami. And we were talking about the Indiana University, the feel good story of the Indiana
Oh,
University football team and the 16-0 undefeated season. And then we were also, I'm bringing it up because we said we both have been watching Heated Rivalry. So as consumers of content, which we are, and marketers, we are pop culture. Okay, so we're going to share with the listeners and viewers what our pre-talk was, because you're like, oh my God, I just got done with episode 5 and 6. But tell how your 18-year-old daughter turned you onto it, but you can't watch it together, because that made me
yeah.
laugh. That made me laugh because I totally know this. Like,
If you've watched Heated Rivalry, you know. And my daughter and I, we just have this really fun relationship. So over Christmas break, she was like, "Mom, I'm watching my gay hockey show," and we'd be like, my husband and I are both like, "What?" And like, obviously didn't ask any questions. It's funny because last week she's like, I'm starting Euphoria. And I said to her, I don't think that's that appropriate. And then I'm like, she's turning 18 at the end of March. Like it's, and I had not seen or heard about Heated Rivalry. And finally she's like, you really need to watch it. And I watched the first episode. I texted her. She comes upstairs. I'm like, what are we watching? It was like, oh, wow. So we did not watch it together. We watched episode 5 together because that was like, if you know, just a beautiful episode. And my daughter, my mom passed away 2 years ago. And my daughter is my mother reincarnated. And I look over and she was crying like a baby, like my mother would have. It's like they are the same human being sometimes. It's so good. I love it. But Heated Rivalry is so good. We talked about everything after every episode. The whole family knows mom's watching her, like her show. And I have 2 sons too. They're like, Mom, like what's happening on the TV? I'm like, guys, we're not going to talk about where it's a great love story. But I can't get enough. And honestly, what an amazing love story. There's great women falling in love with these gay men. And I read this whole thing. It's like, there's no toxic masculinity and it's like so real. And like, it's just this incredible, like lusty and then love story that you just cannot get enough of.
And it's so funny because like the women and the gay men who love us. I mean, we all know that like, in most gay men have like female BFFs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just do, especially like our straight female friends. Totally. And I made the mistake, and I'm sure many of our listeners and viewers, like those first 2 episodes, I watched it with Joe, my husband, and I'm like, this is uncomfortable. This is like, and I'm like, and I was worried, okay, Heated Rivalry, I love you, because I'm like, oh God, they just made softcore porn. This isn't like, there's no plot. Like, there's no, like, I don't get it. Like, there's no story. And then, anybody hasn't watched it, episode 3 changes everything. And then 4, 5, and 6, and I probably am your reincarnated mother too, because I blubbered through the whole thing. And I think for those of us from the gay audience, that we've all lived that trauma, we've all lived that double life and everything else, and it's healing. I mean, that is so healing for us because you actually believe, you actually believe. And, you know, and I'm lucky because I have my own love story, but I mean, you actually believe that the world is going to be okay. And after feeling that you had to hide yourself and everything else, like we're all like, we're just counting the days. I already bought the books on tape. Like now I'm listening to the books.
That's what I need to do next.
I mean, because it's amazing to me in this sea of, there is so much content. And every time you go out to dinner with friends or go to a cocktail party, somebody's talking about some damn show you've never heard of. Yeah. And then I have to go home and Google it and figure out where it's on. You know, is it on Hulu? Is it on Paramount? Like, where is that show? This one has totally cut through. It's this little Canadian show that HBO, low budget, actors no one had ever heard of. And totally low budget, and HBO picked it up probably for a song and put it on, and now it's so like
smart. Oh my God.
I know. Those HBO people are like, we're the smartest programmers in Hollywood. It's crazy.
I mean, by the way, hats off to HBO because you are putting out some incredible content. Now Euphoria
is back, to your point.
Euphoria is back. Everything. My girlfriends from college, we have a text thread of 4 of us. And yesterday, after I finished episode 6, I texted them like, please tell me you guys are watching this. And one's like, I just finished episode 2 last night around 8:30. My friend Kylie's like, she's like, I just finished episode 1. Is this all it is? Like low budget porn?
Yeah.
And I go,
totally. No, keep going.
You gotta keep going. She's like, when does it get good? I'm like, it's about halfway through, but you're right. It's episode 3. So it's a third of the way through is when it sort of change. It's like, it's all warming up. And then, I mean, I guess we can do spoiler alerts on this because at this point, if you haven't watched it yet, like you should be on your second run through at this point.
Yeah,
like
totally.
It's the moments, the final episode, like the "I love you" was incredible, and then his like that moment with his mom,
the mom,
like
and
when
son
I tried, and it's like. Oh, like as a mother looking at that, being like, oh, I would never want my children to feel like they'd have to try.
Right.
To be anything other than they are. Oh,
yeah,
God,
we're told it. Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
But But then when she says, I'm sorry, I failed.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't provide the environment for you to basically be honest with me.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I think around the world, the gay audiences that have watched that, like that's when we start breaking down. And regardless of what your relationship is with your parents and your own coming out story and all that kind of stuff, it's like that's a trauma we recognize. And um, especially I'd say like certain generations, particularly my generation, where you felt like by owning your truth or your authenticity, you were going to disappoint your family and you were going to not have love and you were not going to have success. So I'm all about it. I'm thrilled.
Oh,
And it
love
just,
that moment for
I
you.
can't even
Love
watch it.
that
I
moment
can't
for
even,
you.
I
Yeah.
could watch those episodes. I could watch 3, 4, 5, and 6 with my
Yeah.
husband. 1 and
Yeah.
2, no. 1 and 2 are personal.
A lot. It was just like, let me just have
It's
my
a
moment.
lot. It's a lot. It is
And
a
hey,
lot.
by the way, not mad about it, just need to be by
I
myself.
know. And like, those are some good putts. I'm just going to say it, people. Another spoiler alert. Those boys worked out is
Oh
all
my
I'm
gosh.
going to say. They worked out.
GQ did something with Ilya. I can't even call them by their real names. And he's like,
Yeah.
you want to know my routine for my, like, and it's like,
Yeah.
he's like, you've all seen it. So you want to know how I get it? It's
I
like,
know.
funny,
And God bless
leaning
them.
right on into it all.
God bless them. They're everywhere. Those characters are everywhere. I mean,
I know.
they
They're
are like
doing the work
on the
right now.
map. They need to do Uncle Nearest. You got to hire them.
I'll do it, whatever it takes. Reese said one of them was just in Paris at like a fashion week or something and like smoking a cig. And I'm like, he's so cool. I'm like, Reese, he might make smoking cool again. Like this might be happening.
God. It could be happening. Smoking and whiskey, they kind of go together. Tennessee whiskey and smoking, they kind of go together. It's like,
I love it. I love all of it.
What's the biggest thing you're working on right now? Tell me like 1 or 2 things. You don't have to give away trade secrets, but like what are
I'm
you
going to
working
give you all
on?
the secrets.
Yeah.
You know, the last year and a half has been an interesting time just in general. We've been working on a lot of like fun things. We're seeing a lot of like innovation in whiskey. So we've been doing a lot of kind of limited time fun, limited 2,000 bottles or 2,000 cases of something. So over the winter, we did a whiskey that had been resting in cognac casks. And honestly, the way that product turned out, it was like drinking a cocktail out of the bottle. It was so incredibly good. So proud of that. And it sold out and it caused so much buzz. So that's been fun. We're about to launch our toasted single barrel, which we've had that at the distillery for the last 2 years. Now we're going to put it on the market for a limited amount, which I love. And that is really, people get excited about these kind of limited fun things that they haven't been able to get before. And we're about to relaunch. So in 2023, we did something called the HBCU Cocktail Challenge. And, you know, for people who don't know, and like there's a lot of people that look like us, Jim, that don't know, but HBCU stands for historically Black colleges and universities. There's also sometimes universities that we've attended are referred to as PWIs, primarily white institutions.
Yes, yes.
So, but HBCUs are,
you know, I'm calling you from Atlanta, where we have Spelman and Morehouse and Clark, and we have a lot of them here. But anyway, yes.
Lots in Atlanta. My daughter's, her friend just got into Spelman, so we're really excited for her.
Amazing.
But these HBCUs are historically very underfunded. So we came up with this idea during like January, February, March, you know, Black History Month, Martin Luther King, going into women's history, because we're this women, you know, run company, to ask our, you know, bartender friends in the community to make Uncle Nearest old fashions. And for every old fashioned that they sold, we would donate $1 towards HBCUs. So we ran that program for a couple years and learned a lot. We took a year off last year and we're relaunching it this year with a partner called HBCU Heroes. And HBCU Heroes actually helps to get money in the hands of students. And that's where that's a lot of like who we are. So if you don't know, the Nearest Green Foundation is funded by sales from from Uncle Nearest Whiskey. And that foundation has sent more than 13 people and still sending people through either four-year university, their master's, or up to their PhD that are part of the Nearest Green bloodline. And that is about extending Nearest legacy and emphasizing the importance of education and legacy. And with all of these family members, we've asked that once they get through it, that they pay it forward. So education, legacy have always been a part of who we are. And so with HBCU Heroes, what we're doing is we're just going out and we're asking bars and restaurants, hey, make a cocktail with Uncle Nearest, add $1 to the price if you need to. And for every one of those cocktails that you sell, donate the proceeds to HBCU Heroes. HBCU Heroes will then get that money in the pockets of students in need. And it could be as simple as just for books, housing, or whatever it might be. But for us, we're going to get to actually see who those people are. And I find that more rewarding. We also are not going to limit this to just February and March. Like if people want to continue to support HBCU Heroes and students, it's something they can do. So that's been a pretty fun project that we've really revamped and worked through. And I'm really excited about where it's landing.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And I think, I'm married to an HBCU grad. Joe went to Morehouse Medical School. And yeah, I think being in Atlanta, again, which is like a land of HBCUs, and just understanding what they mean, not only to the Black community, but to the community in general, it's unbelievable. I love that. Absolutely. I love that story. Absolutely. And education and lifelong learning and all of that. I think that's great. That's huge. That's huge.
So that's exciting. So that's been fun.
That's good.
We've had some fun. That's not always fun, but we've had some fun. And
wait, is your daughter a senior in high school, or is she? Okay,
so my daughter's a senior in high school, and she just got an early decision to Barnard, which is the all women's college.
Shut up!
Yeah, so we're a proud family over here, and she goes to an all girls high school right now, and she's traveled all over the East Coast, and Barnard just like got her heart. I took her there this summer after she'd already been the first time, and I said to my husband, I've never seen a smile like that. And I got to tell you, I grew up, my mom worked for Planned Parenthood. My aunts are all feminists. And some of the work product that I saw at Barnard, just like in their student center, is really incredible. These are young women that are going to
change the world.
And she is ready. She is all ready for it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Wow. You're just so excited about it. Are you freaking out? This is your first to go away.
Oh, I am.
And the complete opposite coast.
It hurts me physically. And as you can tell, we have this great relationship where we can talk about heated rivalry and all the things. She's probably she's one of my best friends in the world, but I'm so proud of her. And I love New York. So she's just going to get kind of sick of me because I'm going to come visit her. And I also think, a lot of people are like, how can you let her do it? Look, there is no holding this kid back, and we shouldn't hold our children back. And she's around 3 or 4 airports in New York. She could get on a plane, or I can get on a plane in
no. And I love, by the way, my Arizona niece went to school at Indiana University. I think there's something, if the kids can handle it and the family can afford it and the scholarships and everything, I think it's really good. I'm giving free advice. I'm not a parent. I'm a really good uncle. But I think it's really good for kids to go to college or university outside of the region they were raised in. I really do. Because you and I know, as marketers, as branders, the United States is very diverse. And having lived 25 years in California and now 5 years in the quote South in Atlanta, the new South, it's very different. It's just very different. The food, the culture, the art, the music. Absolutely. And I think it would be so good for us if, again, in the United States, if people mixed more like that, because you get out of your echo chamber. And I wrote one of my opinion pieces or one of my newsletters that one of the headlines was, did 25 years in California make me soft? And the answer was yes, right? Because I just assumed everybody was either gay or an ally, right? Because I felt really, and again, I lived in San Francisco.
Because everybody I know is either gay or an ally here.
Exactly, right. Because I lived in San Francisco, I lived in LA, and then I lived in Laguna Beach, of course. And then people will say, well, what about Fresno? What about Sacramento? I'm like, I didn't live there. But anyway, and then you come to Atlanta and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like even though Atlanta is great and I love it and it's very open but it's the South, right? And you have to, and from the work you do in Tennessee, you think about it more. Like I'm reading The Room again, like the whole Gaydar of like, and especially after 25 years in California, like moving to
That's gotta be a very interesting experience.
Well, it was I mean, moving
and
completely
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable, and like having to get a new doctor and a new dentist and even like a new dog groomer, like all this stuff,
Yeah.
like all the things that you were just used to,
Yeah.
like every time you walk into a new situation, you're kind of scanning and like the
Are we
gator's
good?
on and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like safe, 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 not so sure,
Yeah.
not safe, right? Like you're working the room. And now, I moved here. It's the first time in my life I moved for love. Like I didn't move because of a job or whatever, but I moved and I'm now married to a Black man. So not only are we gay, we're interracial gay, right?
Y'all are
And
throwing
it's
people
like,
off left and
totally, I'm
right.
like,
Yeah.
let's put some more targets. Come over here. Let's put some more targets. But it's been good for me because I've learned
Yeah.
a lot. And I think my empathy and my compassion for all historically marginalized and underrepresented voices, what you were talking about, being a female leader in the industry, it's higher, right?
Yeah.
And I again, back to your HBCU thing, I understand the importance of that to the world. And
Yeah.
especially, listen, it's been hard being a DEI branded speaker, coach, trainer,
Mm.
even though that's not all I talk about. You know me, Kate. I don't only
I
talk
don't
about
even know that we've ever
DEI.
had conversations like
Yeah,
that ever.
exactly.
Yeah.
But what happened in my business last year, I go off and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go off and I'm going to do this, writing these books and speaking and all that kind of stuff. And I had so many cancellations last year and so many changes because the minute the administration changed, literally like inauguration day and those first executive orders, and it really made me realize, I was like, okay, I'm not in control of this. I'm not in control. I got to figure it out. But I also know in my heart that whatever you call it, DEI, belonging and inclusion, diversity, whatever you call it, it's the fact of doing business in the world. It's the fact of doing business in
Yeah.
America. We are managing diversity and we're managing belonging and inclusion. Whether
Yeah.
we're allowed to label it or say it out loud or not is a different conversation. But and so I think the fact that I love when you talked earlier about, like, 9 years ago, you were a trailblazer, but now you see the changes. That's
Yeah.
because, again, for everybody, representation matters. Like
It
when
does.
they see
Yeah.
somebody like you, when they see somebody like Fawn,
Yeah.
um,
And the conversations about it matter. Do you know what I mean?
yes, yes.
It's funny,
And
my kids gave me crap. We were in South Africa and they talk about race a lot in South Africa, and it's
yes,
not always comfortable.
uh-uh.
And my two teenagers, like, you talk about race a lot, mom. And I said, I do. But that's literally the business I'm in. And when we were in South
Yeah,
Africa, there was very intense conversations about things. And so I'm like, I don't shy away from those conversations. So maybe it makes people uncomfortable, but they're conversations that need to happen. And I think, to your point, when I
yeah,
started visiting the South, the thing that struck me the most is Southerners are very polite. I'm going to get in trouble for this. However, the casual racism is unbelievable. And by casual, like, you just don't feel like it's racist, but you like, they're Black. Like, there's these little things that are said, and you're like, are we saying that? Are you saying what? Are we? Are you? And it's like, but it's not a big deal. It's not like I hate them. It's just like little casual drops where you're like, And I heard it in South Africa as well, where I was sometimes like, wait, did that? And that's just, we can't ignore it. We got to have conversations about it.
well, and it's, to your point, I mean, the casualness of it, but also it's systemic. I mean, it's endemic
Yeah.
in the culture. And it's funny because, having been with Joe now for almost 6 years, I think we've taught each other, it's the first time either one of us has been in an interracial relationship, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
it's
So you're
not,
going
yeah.
really together
So
for
we're
the
kind of
South.
learning it together. And we say things like, oh, well, I mean, it's even funny, like on foods and stuff, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
the latest one is, I love cottage cheese. I eat a lot of cottage cheese, people.
That's a
I
white
like
people shit right there.
totally. And I'll be like, and I buy cottage cheese and it sits there, right? Because I can't eat it all. And I'll be like, and I'll try and put some on his plate. And he's like, no, we don't. Like it's just so funny. And I'll be like, is this? And I'll literally look at him and say, is this a white person food? He's like, it's a complete white person food. And I
I love that.
remember
So we
our
should have
first,
that
we
fun.
should, and our first Thanksgiving, right? Our first Thanksgiving, and we were hosting everybody, and there's different things on the menu if you grew up in a black household or a white household. And so we were having this blended Thanksgiving, but I loved it. Like now, my Thanksgiving, if you come to the Fielding Langham household, you're going to have greens and you're going to have macaroni and cheese on Thanksgiving. And
Do you know the macaroni and cheese thing is funny because I was told early on, they're like, when you grew up, I forget who asked me, like my mom would make like a macaroni and cheese like casserole. That was our meal.
Yes.
And they're like, that was a big like red flag. No, it's a side.
It's a side dish.
It was a meal for us. Like, no, that's a side.
And you know, because you're in Tennessee, and I'm afraid I'm going to sprout chicken wings because I've never eaten so many wings in my life. And I didn't know they came in like 34 flavors. But I also now know if you're from Atlanta, and by the way, I say it right, Atlanta, not Atlanta. Atlanta. Lemon pepper better be your favorite wing flavor. Like now I know that. And I do like lemon
good to know.
But, no, but I mean, I think,
myself
but to me, I know when you come and visit, we're going to have lemon pepper wings.
I can't wait.
Yeah. But I love it because to me, where I am a lifelong learner and I'm constantly, and I just love people, like, and you love people, I love people. I'm like, I'll literally, and I love that we also have the relationship where I can say, and I'll literally ask him, I'm like, wait a minute, is that, like, I was raised on cottage cheese. I didn't ever think that it was I don't know how it became a white person food, but okay, I was raised, we were a cottage cheese family.
All the time. You know, I had this moment the other day. This is so random. We were saying a prayer before something, and I was with like all denominations. And I did the sign of the cross before the prayer because I grew up Catholic. I didn't know that was a pretty predominantly, like most religions don't do the sign of the cross before they pray. And I was like, I've grown up around just Catholic folks my whole life. I went to Catholic school. My kids go to Catholic school. And I was like, wait, no. I was like, so do y'all not do that?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I think it's the learning is interesting. Like, this is what we need. Like, oh, cool.
And
wow. You know,
and we should be able to ask, right. And we should be able to ask questions
without feeling offended.
Without feel like you're offending. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, I innocently did not know. And by the way, if I am offending you by something I'm saying, doing, whatever, please tell me because I'm not trying to offend you.
No. Yeah, I need to know.
Oh, that's amazing. What's been your biggest surprise in the last 9 years in this role? And then you can think of them together because they might go together. And then what's like your one piece of wisdom you want our listeners and viewers to hear? Like life wisdom from you. Because I know you have a very strong life philosophy too. But so what's been your biggest surprise in this, I guess I would say in this role, but also 9 years, you know, being a parent and everything else. And then what's your one big piece of wisdom?
Oh my gosh. I think the biggest surprise in the last 9 years, this is like, by the way, time flies like in the most incredible way. And like they say as a parent, but even in work, like, you know, sometimes the days are long, but God, the years are fast. And I sometimes can't believe we've been at this for so long. I think my biggest surprise and the biggest like source of pride is just how successful this company has been and how many incredible people the people we've put together on this team that have made it happen. That part I love. And even in these tough times, you know, my biggest concern right now is ensuring that this team knows that they're loved and that they are empowered to keep doing what they want to do. So I think that's a big
that's great. That's a great learning. That's a great learning.
And, you know, I think life lessons, it goes back to what I said at the beginning, but you just never know. I think when you're in your 20s and even in your 30s and honestly, even in your 40s, you kind of think whatever you're in is going to be what you're in for forever. And it's not. And you're going to have so many iterations of yourself. And as you get my husband's turning 50 this year. So like, it's like we've been sort of like, you kind of start to think about what we were in our 20s, our 30s, and so much is going to change. But you can control, the only thing you can control is you and how you present yourself to the world.
Love it. No,
be your authentic self and don't be a jerk.
No, I mean,
Like,
I love it because, the first lesson in my book is control the controllable, but leave space for the
mm,
possible. And that's what you just did. And I love that is your philosophy because that has been, I made it the first lesson in the book because it
I
took
love
me
that.
until I was in my 50s to learn it because
Yeah,
I was trying to control things that were not controllable for sure.
right.
I was a type A anal retentive. I'm still a control freak. I'm still a planner,
Yeah,
but letting go, what you realize is you can control your reaction. You can control what you do because of something, but you can't control the situation. And,
yeah,
like the world we're in right now, the pandemic was a great example we talked about earlier. The political situation, the economy, the global, the conflicts around the globe. I cannot control those. I cannot control them. What I can do is educate myself about them, stay constantly curious, learn, and then control my reactions.
yeah,
That's what I'm in control
100%.
of.
Control
Oh
what you
my
control.
God. Kate
This
Jerkens.
is
This
so
has been
fun. Let's
unbelievable.
do
It's
it
so
next
much
week.
fun. I know. I know. I
After the
want to
next
thank
seated
you.
rivalry season,
Oh
we've
my
got to get
God. I'm
together.
going to just fly to LA and watch it with you. We might have to sit in other rooms until we ascertain the
Yeah,
content.
yeah.
We
Until
might.
all those scenes are those are
Yeah.
those are your by yourself
I mean,
scenes.
I think the first time watch, maybe an individual thing, and then you could do group watching because
That's fair.
then you're like not as shocked.
Well, I see they have like group watch parties for it, and I'm like, you're
I
with like
know.
strangers
They're
watching
playing
it.
it. They're playing it in bars. I'm like,
I'm
oh
like,
my
ooh.
God. I was like, oh, I don't
I
know.
guess in a bar you can all sort of do this.
Yeah, yeah.
Are
Yeah,
you?
like what? Oh my God. This has
This
been
is so
so much
cute.
fun.
Yes,
Thank you
thank you.
so
Thank you
much
for
for what
inviting
you
me.
do. Of course, thank you for what you do for the world. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
Uncle Nearest and Nearest Green, all that kind of stuff. Thank you for being a good mom. Your kids are lucky. Kids, when
Sweet.
you're listening to this, you're lucky. You're
Lucky little
lucky.
guys.
Lucky. Just remember you're lucky. Congratulations to your daughter, Barnard.
Thank
That's
you. I'm so proud of her.
unbelievable.
Thank you.
Oh my God, you should be.
What
You
a
and your
moment.
husband. You and your husband. That's a big, that's a
Yeah.
check.
Do
An
not
early
ever change your
decision.
nails, Jim. I want to see those nails red every time I see
Oh
you.
my God.
Go
You know what? I love
IU.
playing with nails is new. This is a new thing. I'd say in
I
the
like
last
it.
year
It's a
is
good
I
look.
play, cause what started it was the wedding. But that's like a whole
Oh,
nother episode.
I
But
can. Oh,
getting the nails right for the wedding was the
I
big
love that. Oh, I want to know more about that.
Oh my
Okay.
God. All
Lots
right.
to
Thank
talk.
you so much,
Okay.
Kate. We'll talk
Thank you.
soon.
Okay.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for spending this time with us on Ask for an Answer. If this conversation sparks something for you, don't just nod and move on. Take one idea, one question, one uncomfortable and bring it into your next meeting, your next one-on-one, or your next big decision. That's how this becomes a practice, not just a podcast. If you're leading a team, a classroom, a company, or just your own next chapter, you don't have to have it all figured out. You do have to be willing to listen, to ask better questions, and to create the kind of safety where people will actually tell you what they see. If this episode was useful, share it with someone who's in the arena with you. And if you want more tools, stories, and real talk leadership moments, make sure you follow the show and leave a review so others can find us. I'm Jim Fielding. Thank you for being here, for leading with less armor and more intention. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and keep asking for an answer.